Hello, welcome. So I'm gonna get straight into this, cause this is man. Okay, so and this is I'm gonna set the foundation for this. This is why you should not care about what people think about your artwork. Period. And there's also a weird thing that happens when somebody compliments you. Um, yeah, let's talk about some stuff, cause this is I be going through it as an artist, and you're gonna hear about it. All right, let's go. So, why it shouldn't matter what somebody else thinks about your art? Because it's not for them. It's complete therapy. Like that's really the biggest thing that I wanted to realize. And then the second half, which is like, well, if you're an artist and you're publishing your work, and let's say you pick and choose which art you publish, because if you're an art, you probably have like, and this is if you this is how you know you're healthy as an artist, like just in general. Like you can tell, like if you eat good food, good, you look at your poop in the toilet, it's nice, it's not messed up, right? If you have a good amount of artwork, and if you have a good amount of artwork and you can pick from one of them and be like, oh, I want to give this to people, and you don't feel bad about what they might say about it, so on and so forth. If you can do that, if you can pick a little piece of artwork, give it away, and just give it away, and not care about how it's received, not care about, and just give for the sake of giving, that's how you know you're pretty healthy up top as an artist. One of the biggest reasons for this is because, and this is the work that art does on you. It makes you into a good person. It makes you into a really good person because you're not, you, you know, as you're creating what you're making, you're kind of battling with yourself. You're kind of having a conversation, and it that conversation itself is gonna like, just hold on, the mic is a little too high. So that conversation itself is gonna like, it's gonna transform you. That conversation that you're having, either with the paper or the clay, or the music that you're creating, or just the craft itself, you're gonna have a relationship with that craft, and that relationship is going to grow you. Not only that, it also makes you feel good, and it feeds you. It just feeds your spirit. So it's gonna make you into a good person as it is. Back to the topic. That's why you shouldn't care. You shouldn't care about what other people think about your artwork, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what other people think about your artwork. They're gonna think about, they think about a ton of stuff throughout their day, and chances are, most people that don't like your artwork, they're not gonna like it either way. They're not gonna come around either way. It doesn't matter. You can show it to them sideways, upside, like it doesn't matter. And another reason it doesn't matter is because you, as an artist, I'm not even as an artist, we're gonna go down like nitty and gritty, as a human being, dude, like you're using this art form as therapy. That's its primary form, hands down. That's how it found you. And so when you go ahead and you're like, okay, and by the way, it's very silly of us, just as artists in general, maybe this is like society that's like put it onto us, like it's very silly of us to constantly try to make profit from our therapy. Don't know why we do this to ourselves, but this is why I'm here. I'm gonna make things a little clearer for you. All right. So nonetheless, you decide to go ahead and show your artwork to people, and they like it. They like it so much, you end up selling it. But then some people don't like it, and then you stop doing it because some people don't like it. Cool. Nonetheless, the whole point of it was for you to do it, for it to feed you, for it to give to you, for it to love you, and for it to transform you and make you into a better person. And so now all of a sudden, okay, well, here, you know, you've shown it to people, and that's another thing. It's like some artwork is not meant to be exposed. You're not just you're not supposed to show this gift, this relationship that you have with something that's very divine, right? The unknown. You're dabbling with the unknown. Like as you're creating something, you're 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 discovering different parts of yourselves that wouldn't have otherwise existed. You understand how weird that is? Like part of your spiritual, there's a lot. It's a whole spectrum, kind of like a piano, from high to low. And as you're making art, you're discovering each and every single one of these different parts about yourself that wouldn't have otherwise existed unless you stumbled upon it. Uh, you came across you overcame frustration so much to the point where you surrendered and let things happen and began to accept who you really were, what you really are, right? It's a beautiful process. It's in its core, it's therapy, and we've been doing this since the beginning. Since the beginning, like this is why I'm gonna probably stop referring to if you guys are artists, I'm literally gonna be saying, yo, if you're human being, because every human being to a degree, like, you have a spirit, man. You got light in your eyes. You're still here. You're knocking. You know what I mean? Like you're here, and so you have opinions about things. You have taste. You have things that you like, and you understand, like you're alive. You're alive, and I think that's something that art reminds us about. It's life. You can see life in creativity when you look at it. You can see, oh, this was touched by a human being. Like, you ever clean your room or just clean anything? Um, and if you haven't in a while, I mean, get clean your room. You're gonna see, like, yo, you're gonna like. There's just gonna be so much beauty around you, and there's something about imperfections behind what it like, just have just the imperfections behind the human touch. The fact that a human did something behind it, right? Nonetheless, it's this stuff is therapy. This stuff has been around since the beginning of time. Singing, dancing, I believe those are the first two. After that, you have like caveman drawing and stuff like that. I don't know which one came first. Nonetheless, these things have been around for a long time and a very important part of human essence, right? We all resonate with it because at the end, we all know we're all the same. And it's just like, yo, like, oh, I see that. You could see a drawing. Like, if you can draw, like, there's this, I don't know, I think it was an architect that said this. And he was like, yo, if you can, if you can illustrate something, uh, not only will I know it's true, but also I can understand it, right? When you draw something out, when you can see it, it helps you communicate. That's writing, right? It's another form of drawing in a weird way. It's like this. It's a very, very cool thing, and it's very innate to us, and it helps us develop to be better people, just people in general, and I'm fascinated with that, and I think, and I'm cold-heartedly like with this podcast. I hope people start to develop their own personal art practices, and a lot of people end up uh, developing one. Whether they want to or not, they subconsciously they just end up developing one because it's good for you. It's really good for you. Some people, they walk every day. That's a different. It's weird, but it's a different art form, and it matters. And I don't know. It's creativity. It's you're constructing something and putting it together over time, and it matters to you, and you don't care if it matters to anybody else. That's the interesting part. Initially, you don't really even give a fuck about if it matters to anybody else. You don't. You don't. You don't care. You don't, like, you're sitting there and you're making these decisions about this piece, and you're like, oh, this maybe it needs a little bit of this. Maybe it needs a little bit of that. I like that. I don't like that. No. Oh, that's good. That's a good one right there. And it makes you into a better person because it helps you make better decisions. You make better decisions because you understand, oh wait. And not only that, you understand like consequences. Consequences, right? Like if you make a brushstroke and you didn't like that brushstroke, you undo it. Super easy, super simple. And you get to you get to have a relationship with what consequences feel like, right? Or at least the idea behind that. And once again, it makes you into a better person. It builds you. And it's like, oh, cool. And a lot of people, I don't know if you've seen it, but I've seen many like individuals like paint, make something. They hate themselves, dude. Like some people would genuinely hate themselves when they mess up. That's not okay. Like, and I think that's something that I want to emphasize is that's the reason we do these. That's the reason you do these things. That's the reason you create and go after, you put things together in certain ways for yourself is so you can overcome that hating yourself for the little smallest of things, man. It's just you ain't gotta hate yourself. You could just keep going and do better. Like that's something that art I think teaches us is like you could just keep going and do better. You don't have to hate yourself for one small little inconvenience. Not necessary. Not necessary at all. And a great portion of the time you can make another piece or come back to it and then you realize, oh, that was the best thing that could have ever happened. This is real stuff, man. Burnt toast analogy, I don't know if you've heard it. I know what it means. I can't say it back to you because I forgot what it meant, but I know it's a burnt toast analogy, so look it up when you got your own time. By the way, you always have your own time. That's a beautiful thing about life and just being an adult. uh So yeah, it's dude, like it doesn't matter what other people think. It doesn't. I've and there's another thing. There's another thing. I've never seen two people eat the same food, even if they're the same nationality, the same. Like I've never seen two people like the same combination of food. This is something I wanted to link to it, by the way, because a lot of you guys are doing what you do professionally, and are putting it out there into the public eye. And so you have to kind of dabble and understand with the wider rim of what's going on, right? And this is what I want to say. In private, it's called therapy. In public, it's called culture. Let that sink in. That's deep enough. So, in private, it's therapy. In public, it's called culture. It that relationship that you have with your artwork should never get past therapy. I'm not like, and let me be more specific. How you feel about your artwork should never get past therapy because that's where it was born. That's its birthplace. That relationship with whatever you do is born, for whatever. A lot of people end up creating for many reasons in life. I personally think it's transgressions, the things that happen to you in life, things that or I truly think is also how people deal with being alone, or the feeling of being alone and the feeling of no one being around to be there for you. It's almost like there is this thing that's there for you, and it's gonna let you know, uh, as you let it unfold in front of you, and as you let it, as you let it take care of you. It's gonna show you, and it's different parts of yourselves that you end up introducing yourself to. That's a beautiful thing. Nonetheless, that's where it began. That's where your creativity was born. That's where your personal development through creativity began. Now, as you begin to show it to everybody else, you begin to see culture. Culture now is culture is the and culture is the impact that your creativity has on 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 humans, on humanity, right? And I personally believe that impact that your creativity has on humanity, not only does it evolve you first and foremost, it involves everybody else and their perception, and to a degree it unites consciousness. Like you can, like when you see people at a concert, they are singing together, vibrating together. They are uniting their consciousness. They are uniting who they are, what they are, everybody at that concert is, and you're going to feel like the same. That's why going to church and having these like religions and so on and so forth, and wherever I guess sound therapy is, especially with music, you have that effect. You have that effect where people are beginning to connect with each other, and they're beginning to like, you're beginning to connect with the person next to you because they like the same song as you, and so on and so forth. And it's a great thing. It's a good thing, man. And it feels good to unite somebody, to be united with somebody. It feels good to connect with somebody. And I think the impact that your creativity has on humanity is so important. And I think it's something that, uh as an artist, especially like, and I'm as someone who makes the art, uh if you're gonna release it, and honestly just step back and watch the magic, because it's gonna unite people. It's gonna connect all of us to something that is beautiful and innate to all of us, something that we all care about. Next, another part about this whole thing, and this is why you shouldn't care all the way to the end. Don't care, because to a degree what's gonna happen is, well, okay, you release this thing, you release it, it does its magic. um at the end of the day, you still have to come back. You got to come back, and you got to come back to who you truly are. You got to come back to what you truly are and how you feel about yourself. And you have to reconnect with yourself. uh yeah. So, man, this stuff is gorgeous. This stuff is beautiful. And I think, yeah, I think I think that, I think if, like, if you have if you have a creative practice, understand that it's there for you, and people are gonna feel however they feel about it. And you can follow the 10-to-1 ratio. That helps with, like, it helps with the whole criticism thing. Uh, that's always gonna be there. There's always gonna be people that don't necessarily like it, and that's okay. That's really something I want to let you know, is that it's normal. It's normal, like very normal, and you can feel it inside. There's sometimes it's like self sabotage where you show it to the wrong person. Uh, really, it's just, you can. It's always good to give it as a gift. And don't get so connected to it. Don't get so connected to the gift that you're giving to other people, because there's a good chance that, you know they'll like some of it and then they won't like the rest. And you can't take that personally, because it was, understand why it existed in the first place. Really um, understand why you cared about it, why you cared about the artwork in the first place. And I believe to a high degree it has to do with that discovery. It helps you understand different parts of yourself a little bit more. And this is something that I wanted to also emphasize. It's a bit of a, when you when you publish something and you're putting it out there, uh, I, I made an episode about this. It's the transmutation of negative energy. When you put stuff out there, and let's say the negativity that wasn't necessarily received, like the parts of your work that weren't received, you can use that energy to let it feed your next piece. uh and the only way to really do this is by having practices that, throughout your day, that allow you to be clear minded, and not distracted by guilt, shame, fear, or insecurities. One of the biggest practices I use: brain dumps and meditation. The two biggest ones: brain dump and meditation. This clears your mind, and it also gives you control over your focus, because now what you end up doing is, they'll say, well, okay, so if this is the negativity that we currently have, and you can see it in the brain dump, you wrote down so on and so forth, said blah blah blah. Cool. You're gonna take that and that emotion and how it makes you feel, and you're gonna place it back into your creativity. Draw something about it. Draw something about it. Like I love drawing my critics, my inner critic, because that's really the one that that's something that also as an artist is, as a human being in general, you really understand like that critic isn't necessarily out there, it's inside. It's an illusion. Like a some relative might say something about your work, but what they say has absolutely nothing to do with you, but everything to do about how they feel if they did what you did. Like that's elusive. That's very elusive. Like, and that tricks you. That makes you think, "Oh wow, like that person doesn't like me. That person doesn't like they don't like the artwork that I make." That's not the case. They don't like the artwork if they made it. It's weird. And people a lot I've seen this a lot. This is that comparison. And that's the relationship that we have with things. You relate to things as a human being. You relate to the things that you would do and the things that you wouldn't do. You see something and you say, well, would I do that? Is that something that I would personally do? And then all of a sudden you have a relationship with it, and you begin to associate with, oh, would I do this? Would I actually, and then all of a sudden there's a relationship to that. And so relationships matter, and understand that when you show somebody something, the relationship doesn't have to do with you. Yes, that helped you discover yourself, which I can see 100% why somebody else saying something negative about it might hurt you, because you were discovering yourself. You were discovering yourself. And no, it may not look good. Self discovery does not look good at all. It does not look good at all. Not all the time. Sometimes it looks good, but other times it looks pretty darn bad. So you show somebody this stuff, to you, it like the relationship that you had with the artwork was it, it's you, so it meant everything. It meant, you were discovering different parts of your piano. To them, it was like I could never. What is that? What? They even goes for, how could you make something like that, right? But then you realize, oh wait, that's the relationship that they have with themselves in accordance to what you made. Let's say it is good. Cool. Some people might like it. Subjectively good. That's a different topic, because it's like, oh, no, there's a good that all of us can relate to. Nonetheless, it's it's very relational. It's very relational, and so I think that's something that to my hope here is to help you create like a barrier, help you create like a thin line, or like, and like this is another thing too. It's generosity is gonna help, because there is a principle involved. Uh, there's a principle involved in as to why this person, as to why they did not like it. One, but also the principle that helps with how you feel, because you feel. I mean, when you show something to somebody else, you probably feel what? You probably feel to a degree betrayed, because they don't like who you are. It's rejection, right? And so we take that rejection, and now we'll say, okay, well, they rejected, they rejected, and granted, what somebody might see, hear, feel, or whatever when they see your work is that rejection has, because I'm trying to use a word here for you. Uh, that rejection is very important, because it's gonna help you transmute that energy into acceptance. Uh, you take that rejection and say, well, I like it. You take that rejection and you say, well, it works for me. You take that rejection and say, hey, it wasn't for you. And and I think generosity plays a very big role here, because if you gave it to somebody else and they didn't like it, you have to just, if you move from a place of generosity, it doesn't matter whether they liked it or not. If you're moving from a place of unconditional generosity, and I think creativity as a devotion to your divine to your divine God, I think is very important. Here's why. Would I'm placing uh I'm placing divinity here as a form of truth, inner truth, right? Because when you're generous, and I'm going to switch that word to generous, when you switch that generosity to devotion, this whole thing changes. Because now when you start with therapy, where this thing is therapy for you, and you bring it all the way into culture, and it becomes culture when it's received well, right? Even if it's received bad, the word devotion is going to help aid that. It's going to help transform what that even was, what that process is. And it's a form of devotion, I believe, to your inner truth. Because as you discovered yourself, you discovered your true self. You discovered who you really were, what you really are, what you like and don't like. And so as you're creating as a form of devotion, what's now happening is, even if it gets far into culture, and it gets received well, or it does bad, it does horrible, people don't like it, never goes anywhere, nobody even hears about it, right? It was still a form of devotion. The entire process could be called a level of devotion, because you're devoting to something much greater, right? That not only the unity of the collective, but the unity of yourself. Because if the art does well and it feels good as you're creating it, you're going to feel good, and you're going to feel more united with different parts of yourself. And if the artwork does great and it becomes into culture, everybody else feels great, and they get to connect with other people and unite with one another. Okay, and so I think devotion becomes the underlying, almost as a form of protection. Like, I guess I'll give you this as a form of protection, right? As an artist, because your spirit needs that to a degree. If you're gonna make it because it's a form of devotion. Make it because it's a devotion to self-discovery, not only for yourself but for the collective, or not only for the collective but most importantly for yourself, because it matters. It does. It does matter. It doesn't matter, but it matters. And so keep doing it, because, well, you already know why. Okay. That's it for me. Thank you. As always, latest hoodie is now available. Evolve. Link in description. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for sticking around this long if you have. This is one of the longer videos. And yeah, thank you so much. I hope you got a lot out of this. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.